You close your eyes, and the darkness behind your eyelids begins to shimmer. At first, it feels like emptiness, a blank page where thought dissolves. But as you breathe, as your mind slows, you notice faint glimmers emerging, like tiny sparks scattered on velvet. Those sparks gather into the shapes, and suddenly you are no longer resting in nothingness, but floating in a sky stitched with stars. The stars are not distant dots, not mere points of light. Instead, they feel like threads, each one glowing faintly, stretching across an invisible fabric. You imagine that this fabric is the universe itself, woven from space and time, its fibers twisting and curling, holding everything together. You drift across it, not as a stranger, but as part of its weave. Every thread hums with its own quiet tone, like the vibration of a plucked string on an instrument. When one string trembles, the others respond, creating a harmony you cannot hear, but somehow feel. This harmony is the beginning of your journey tonight, the idea that the universe is connected not only by gravity and light, but by something subtler, something almost secret. Imagine two threads meeting, crossing, and tying into a knot so small you cannot see it. That knot is a pair of particles, joined in a way that resists separation. No matter how far they drift, they remain tied by this invisible knot. Pull one, and the other shivers. Twist one, and the other responds instantly, as if no distance ever existed between them. This is quantum entanglement, a phrase that feels too sharp, too technical for the softness of what it describes. To entangle is to weave, to knot, to bind. You imagine instead two autumn leaves caught in the same gentle current, carried apart yet still moving in rhythm, or two lanterns released into the night sky, drifting higher and higher, but always glowing with the same hidden pulse. The scientists who first discovered this truth were not trying to make poetry. They were experimenting, questioning, doubting, and yet what they uncovered feels like something out of a dream. Particles, those tiny invisible foundations of everything, can remain linked even when torn apart by unimaginable distances. It is as if the universe itself whispers, separation is only an illusion. You rest in that thought, the illusion of separation. How often do you feel apart from others, apart from the world, apart even from yourself? Entanglement reminds you gently that beneath the surface connection endures. Just as these particles remain bound, perhaps so do you remain tied to every person you have loved, every place you have been, every possibility waiting for you. The metaphor is soothing, but the science is real. When two particles are entangled, their properties, such as their spin, their direction, their energy, are not just similar, but unified. They are described by one shared story, one mathematical wave that covers them both. To touch one is to shape the other. The connection does not weaken with distance. It does not fade with time. It is simply there, waiting to be noticed. You picture yourself holding a thread of light, delicate and glowing between your fingers. You tug it gently, and across the universe another spark trembles in answer. You cannot see it, but you feel its reply. That sensation fills you with calm, a reassurance that even the vastness of space is not too wide for intimacy. Drifting further into this vision, you notice that the fabric of the universe is not perfectly smooth. It is patterned with shadows, darker places where mystery hides. Between the threads there are gaps, unknowns, unanswered questions. You let yourself linger on those shadows without fear. Shadows make the fabric richer. They give depth, texture, and beauty to what might otherwise be plain. One of those shadows holds the question of how entanglement truly works. Scientists know it happens. They can measure it, test it, confirm it. Yet the why remains elusive. How does one particle know what its partner is doing when nothing seems to pass between them? How can a response be instant, when even light, the fastest thing we know, takes time to travel? The question rests in the dark folds of reality. It may remain there for years, decades, centuries, but tonight, as you lie still, you do not need the answer. The mystery itself is enough. The not knowing becomes a lullaby, rocking you with possibility. You imagine yourself as part of this fabric. Your body is stitched from atoms, each atom stitched from particles, each particle carrying the rules of quantum life. You are not separate from this story. You're a knot in the weave, a glowing thread among countless others. When you breathe, you feel the gentle tug of connection, as if the universe itself breathes with you. The stars above your closed eyes flicker more softly now. They do not feel like distant fires, but like stitches holding the night together. The thought comforts you. You're not lying beneath an indifferent sky. You're lying within it, part of its endless weaving. And in that weaving, entanglement is not a trick, not a puzzle, but a reminder. A reminder that the smallest parts of reality are capable of intimacy, that across distance, silence and time, there are ties that cannot be broken. You float on that reminder, as if it were a current carrying you slowly downstream. As your mind drifts, you sense the presence of another idea forming, waiting at the edge of thought. If particles can move in mirrored rhythm, what does that dance look like? How does it feel, this silent choreography across the void? You let the question linger, unanswered, like the faint glow of two lanterns rising together into the night. You lie in stillness, letting the thought of threads and stitches soften into something new. From the fabric of light and shadow, two sparks emerge. They are small, so small that your mind can barely hold them, but they shine with a kind of presence that feels alive. You sense they belong together. They move together, as if sharing one rhythm, one heartbeat. You imagine them as dancers stepping into a vast silent stage. There is no music, no audience, no sound at all. And yet their movements align perfectly. When one leans, the other tilts. When one turns, the other follows with grace. This is their secret. They do not need to seek or signal. They are bound by something deeper, an invisible choreography written into the very structure of reality. This is quantum entanglement again, but now it feels less like threads and knots and more like a dance, an intimate duet performed across impossible distances. If one dancer spins on Earth, the other might respond on the far side of the galaxy. The space between them does not matter. The rhythm is shared, as if the music exists not in the world around them, but in the bond itself. You breathe slowly and picture the particles more clearly. Scientists call them qubits when used in computers, or photons when made of light, or electrons when carrying charge. But tonight, you do not need the labels. You only need the image. Two dancers, silent yet inseparable, gliding across the floor of the universe. Imagine the first dancer twirling to the left. Instantly, without delay, the second twirls to the right. Not because one signal crossed the distance, but because their steps are part of one story. They are halves of the same whole, reflections in a cosmic mirror. You feel a calm assurance in this. Connection is not always about communication. Sometimes it is about unity, about being written into the same page of the same book. The more you picture their dance, the more you notice its quiet beauty. Entanglement is not loud. It is not like thunder or lightning. It is subtle, delicate, almost chic, happens in serpent, in the spaces we cannot see, and yet its effects ripple outward, touching science, technology, even philosophy. You let the dancers move in your mind. Their steps remind you of yin and yang, of balance, of opposites completing one another. Spin up, spin down, left turn, right turn, push, pull. They are never the same, but always paired. You rest in the thought that difference itself can create harmony. Scientists once tried to explain this dance away. They imagined hidden notes in the music, invisible instructions given to each dancer before the performance began. But time and experiment revealed that no hidden script could explain it. The dancers are not following secret instructions. They are truly connected, in a way deeper than cause and effect. You lie still and think of times in your own life when you felt in step with someone else. A friend finishing your sentence. A loved one sensing your mood without words. A sudden laugh shared at the same instant. Those moments feel like echoes of the same silent dance. Not entanglement in the scientific sense, but something human. Something familiar. The metaphor comforts you. The dance continues. One particle drifts into light, the other slips into shadow, yet their rhythm does not break. You begin to see them not just as partners, but as reminders. They whisper that distance is not always real. What looks like separation may simply be a wider stage, a longer arc of the same choreography. The thought brings peace. If two particles can remain joined across galaxies, then perhaps your own connections, your bonds to people, places, memories, are not truly broken either. Perhaps they too move in rhythm beyond sight, beyond touch, yet still alive. As you sink deeper into this idea, you notice the stillness around you. Your breathing slows, your body grows heavy against the bed, yet your mind floats with the dancers, following their gentle steps. They never tire, never falter. Their rhythm is endless, as if time itself bows to their bond. Time, the word lingers in your thoughts. Could their dance stretch not only across space, but across time as well? Could the step of one echo not just in the present, but into the future, into the past? The idea drifts at the edge of thought, like a new melody waiting to join the duet. But for now, you remain with the present dance. The two particles spin, mirror, turn. Their silence is soothing. Their unity is reassuring. You feel them guiding you inward, deeper into calm, as if you too are part of the rhythm. You imagine lying on a wide floor of the universe, stars above you like lanterns. On this floor, dancers move not in pairs but in endless constellations. Each entangled pair adds to the choreography until the entire cosmos becomes one vast dance. From atoms in your body to photons in space, the rhythm spreads, linking everything in patterns you can barely glimpse. You are part of this performance. Every breath you take is a step in the dance. Every heartbeat joins the rhythm. You rest in the comfort that you do not dance alone. The universe itself keeps time with you. The dancers grow softer in your vision now, fading into the background of stars, but their rhythm remains steady like the pulse of the night. It will carry you into the next thought, the next chapter, the next quiet mystery. And as you drift, you find yourself wondering, if simply observing a particle can change its step, then what happens when you shine your lantern on the dance? How does your gaze shape the unseen? The dance still lingers in your mind, two silent partners moving across the stage of the cosmos. Their rhythm feels eternal, effortless. Yet as you watch them glide, a new question stirs quietly. What happens if you step closer? What happens if you shine a lantern on their dance? You breathe deeply, and with that breath, you become the observer. You are no longer only drifting on the floor of the universe, you're holding a light, curious enough to see the details more clearly. The moment your light shines, something subtle shifts. The dancers no longer move freely. They pause, hesitate, adjust their steps. Your gaze, gentle as it may be, has changed the dance. This is the heart of the quantum mystery. To measure is not simply to observe, it is to participate. When you look at a particle, you are not a distant witness, you are part of the story. Your presence and your attention alters the very thing you're trying to see. You picture yourself standing by a pond at night. The surface is calm, a perfect mirror of the stars, but the moment you lean closer, perhaps touching the water with your fingertip, ripples spread outward. The reflection shifts, the stars blur. You wanted to see more clearly, and yet your very act of looking has transformed the picture. In the quantum world, this is called the observer effect. The act of measuring collapses possibilities into a single outcome. Before your gaze, the dancers were many things at once, spinning left and right, stepping forward and back, existing in a haze of potential. But the moment you look, they must choose. One step becomes real, the others fade like dreams at dawn. The thought brings both wonder and unease. You realize that knowledge itself has limits, that certainty may never be complete. And yet there is comfort here too. The unknown is not a void, but a garden of maybes, blossoming in every direction. Your attention is like sunlight, coaxing one flower to open while countless others remain buds. You close your eyes again and imagine being one of the dancers. You move freely in the dark, every step a possibility, but suddenly a light shines upon you. In that instant, you must commit. You lift your hand in this direction, not that. You turn this way, not the other. The freedom of endless choice narrows into one clear gesture. And though the moment is beautiful, you sense the weight of being seen. This realization makes you pause. How many times in your own life has the gaze of others shaped you? A teacher's eyes, a parent's attention, a friend's expectation. The moment you are observed, you shift subtly or profoundly. You become not only yourself, but also the image reflected in their seeing. The quantum world, it seems, is not so distant after all. You return to the image of the particles, the entangled twins. One is measured, its spin fixed, its step chosen. Instantly the other follows, no matter how far away. Your light touched only one dancer, yet both respond. It is as though the entire duet feels your presence, as though your single ripple spreads across the pond of their connection. You lie quietly, letting this thought deepen. To measure is to interact. To interact is to change. You cannot remain outside of the story. You're always inside it. The idea softens you. There is no need to fear mistakes, no need to imagine yourself separate. By being here, by breathing, you're already shaping the world in small, unseen ways. Scientists call this collapse of possibilities the wave function collapse. A phrase that sounds technical, but you can think of it more simply: a cloud of maybes becoming a single is. You picture a meadow in twilight filled with fireflies blinking in every direction. For a moment all the lights blur into a haze of motion. Then one flash steadies, and your eyes settle upon it. Out of the blur one clear spark emerges. That is measurement. Possibility turning into presence. Yet the mystery is deeper still. What does it mean for something to exist only when observed? Was the particle real before you looked? Did the dance happen in silence, unseen? Or does reality itself depend on the gentle act of awareness? You let the question hover without rushing to answer. It is not a puzzle to be solved tonight. It is a lantern to hold softly, its glow enough to guide you deeper into calm. You return to the pond in your imagination. The ripples from your fingertips spread wider, reaching the far shore. The stars above shimmer, their reflections dancing on the water's moving skin. You do not regret touching the surface, though it blurred the picture. The ripples are beautiful in their own way. Knowledge is not about perfect stillness. It is about learning to love the changes your touch creates. As you breathe, you realize that this act of looking, this entanglement of observer and observed, is part of a larger story. Even Einstein himself once struggled with this idea, calling it incomplete, unsettling, spooky. The greatest minds felt the same unease you feel now, and yet slowly humanity came to accept it. Measurement is not a flaw in the system, it is the system itself. You feel a soft gratitude for this realization. Life is not about standing outside the world, taking notes. It is about stepping into the dance, even if your presence changes the steps. Especially because it does. The particles fade again in your vision, their dance dissolving into the wider fabric of stars. But the question remains, glowing softly at the edge of thought. If even the greatest minds doubted this strange, intimate truth, what words did they use to describe their unease? How did Einstein himself speak of this spooky action, this unsettling bond across the void? You drift toward that echo, toward the voice of a man who stared at the same mystery and gave it a name that still lingers like a bedtime riddle. The ripples of your last thought still move across the quiet pond of your mind. You remember the image of the particles, shifting the moment you looked at them, and you hear the lingering question, how can such strangeness be real? You are not alone in that wondering. Even the man who gave us relativity, who measured the bending of space and time, carried the same unease. Albert Einstein. His name glows like a lantern in the history of science, a figure whose mind reshaped how we see the universe. And yet even he stumbled at the edge of quantum entanglement. He looked at its strange connection, its instant response across distance, and he called it, almost with a sigh, spooky action at a distance. You rest on those words for a moment. Spooky action. They sound playful, almost childlike, but they carry the weight of doubt. Einstein did not mean it as wonder, but as worry. For him, physics was grounded in clarity, in cause and effect. For him, nothing could move faster than light. And yet here was a phenomenon that seemed to ignore that rule entirely. You imagine Einstein at his desk, papers scattered, pipe smoke curling in the air. He writes, pauses, frowns. He's not dismissing the mystery. He is wrestling with it, trying to fit it into the structure of reality he trusted. You feel a kinship in that image. Even the brightest minds meet shadows they cannot explain. The phrase spooky action lingers in your ears like a lullaby made of doubt. It is oddly comforting. If Einstein himself could hesitate before the unknown, then your own hesitations are gentle companions, not flaws. Wonder is not about certainty. It is about standing with questions, listening to the silence they create. Einstein, along with two colleagues, Podolsky and Rosen, tried to challenge quantum mechanics. They proposed what is now called the EPR paradox, a thought experiment suggesting that entanglement revealed something missing, something hidden beneath the surface. They believed there must be hidden variables, invisible causes that explained the connection. Without them, physics felt incomplete. You picture this thought experiment not as equations, but as a story. Two boxes, each holding a particle carried to opposite sides of the universe. If you open one box and find the particle spinning up, the other must spin down. Instant knowledge, instant connection. For Einstein, this was unacceptable without a deeper cause. It was too strange, too ungrounded. He wanted reality to be local, logical, tidy. But nature does not always bend to our preferences. The experiments that followed decades later revealed that entanglement is not a trick, not a gap to be filled by hidden cards. The connection is real, unmediated, unexplainable in the old language of cause and effect. You breathe slowly, letting that thought sink in. Sometimes the universe surprises us not by breaking its rules, but by showing us that our rules were too small. Einstein's worry becomes a lesson. Even genius can feel unease, even brilliance can stumble, and still the truth waits patiently, shimmering in the dark. You imagine now that Einstein's phrase, spooky action, has softened with time. No longer a dismissal, it has become a kind of affectionate nickname. As if the universe itself smiles and says, "Yes, I am spooky, and that is part of my beauty. The worry, the doubt, the resistance, they are all part of the journey." You realize that your own mind too sometimes resists what it cannot explain, but resistance is not an ending, it is a threshold. Beyond it, new understanding waits. You feel your breath deepen, your body grow heavier against the bed. The image of Einstein fades, but his echo remains, the reminder that mystery humbles everyone, that even those who see farthest cannot see everything. This humility becomes soothing, like a blanket drawn up around you. Einstein may not have embraced entanglement, but in his doubt he passed you a gift, the permission to wonder without answers, the permission to walk slowly into mystery without needing it to resolve. His distant worry becomes your gentle companion tonight. And yet, another thought stirs. Einstein's skepticism was not the end of the story. Others would rise to test his doubts, to ring bells across the cosmos and ask the universe to choose. Were hidden variables guiding the dance, or was the strangeness truly woven into reality itself? That question waits just beyond this chapter. Like a bell unstruck, like sound waiting in silence, Einstein's distant worry still lingers in your thoughts, like a hushed echo moving across a long corridor. His doubt was not anger, not dismissal, but the cautious voice of someone who wanted the universe to feel familiar, predictable. Yet the universe does not always offer comfort in predictability. Sometimes it answers with music instead, unexpected, resonant, undeniable. You imagine now a bell. It is polished bronze, heavy and still. For a moment it rests in silence, waiting. Then with the gentlest touch the bell rings. A low, clear tone spills into the air, trembling outward in circles. The sound does not travel with footsteps or words. It simply spreads, reaching every corner at once. You feel it in your chest as much as you hear it in your ears. This is the image that comes to you as you think of John Bell, the physicist who years after Einstein's doubts asked the universe a daring question. He wondered, if entanglement is real, if particles truly echo one another across distance, could we test it? Could we strike the bell of reality and hear what tone it makes? Bell was quiet and thoughtful, not given to grand gestures. Yet his idea was simple, bold and profound. He designed a way to check whether hidden variables, those secret instructions Einstein hoped for, could explain the dance of entangled particles, or whether, instead, the strangeness was not illusion at all, but the fabric of reality itself. You close your eyes and imagine the experiment. Two photons, twin sparks of light, are created together, entangled in their spins. They are sent in opposite directions, carried far apart. On each side, a detector waits, like two ears listening for the same bell. Each detector chooses a question to ask the photon. Are you spinning this way or that? The answers are recorded, compared, studied. If Einstein were right, if hidden variables were secretly guiding the particles, then the results would show a limit, a ceiling to their correlations. The bell would ring only so loudly, its echoes bound by unseen walls. But if quantum mechanics were right, if entanglement were truly fundamental, then the results would surpass that ceiling. The bell would ring beyond expectation, its sound spilling freely into every corner. For years, this idea lived on paper, a proposal waiting for courage and technology. And then, slowly, carefully, experiments began. In laboratories lit with lasers and humming with detectors, scientists created pairs of entangled photons and sent them apart. They measured, compared, calculated. They listened, straining for the tone. And again the universe answered with clarity. The correlation surpassed the limits Einstein's hidden variables would allow. The bell rang freely, not confined to a hidden script. The sound was unmistakable. Entanglement is real, not a trick, not an illusion. You linger on this moment in history. Imagine being in that lab, standing in the quiet hum of machines, knowing that the question Einstein had left unsettled was finally answered. You would feel a hush, a reverence, as though listening to the universe speak directly for the first time. The sound of that bell is not loud. It does not crash or startle, but it is steady, resonant, impossible to ignore. You rest in the thought that science itself is a kind of music. Doubt and discovery, question and answer, silence and sound. Each experiment is like a note struck, ringing out and joining the larger harmony of knowledge. Bell's question was one such note, and its echo continues even now. The experiments did not stop with him. Across decades, physicists refined the tests, closing loopholes, removing doubts. They sent entangled photons across kilometers of fiber between islands, even to satellites orbiting Earth. Each time the result was the same. The bell rang true. The entanglement remained unbroken. Imagine two sparks of light, born together, separated by mountains or oceans, yet still echoing one another's choices. When one turns, the other turns, no matter the distance. You cannot see the thread, but you hear the tone. The sound of connection is softer than thunder, but it travels farther than light. You breathe deeply, letting this image sink into you. A bell ringing without air, a sound carried not by vibration, but by unity. It is the sound of the cosmos revealing one of its deepest secrets, that separation is not always what it seems. As you drift with this thought, you will realize how much comfort there is in such a truth. If particles can remain joined across the void, then perhaps the bonds in your own life too stretch farther than you imagine. Distance may soften presence, but it cannot erase it. The bell of connection rings quietly, always, waiting to be heard. You picture the sound moving through you now, resonating in your chest. Each heartbeat feels like a small bell of its own, echoing the rhythm of the cosmos. You're not outside of this experiment. You're made of particles, and those particles are stitched with the same entangling rules. You're part of the music, both listener and instrument. The sound grows softer, fading into a hum, and it does not disappear. It lingers like the last vibration of a struck bell, moving outward long after the hammer is gone. Knowledge is like that too. Once discovered, it never fully fades. It continues to ring, guiding future question, future minds. And now you feel the transition again, the gentle movement toward the next idea. The bell has rung, the sound has been heard, and the hidden variables have fallen away. But another question rises. If no secret hands guide the dance, if the stage is truly bare, then what does that mean? What happens when we accept that entanglement holds no hidden cards, no quiet instructions tucked away? You drift toward that question, feeling it as softly as the fading echo of a bell. The bell's vibration still lingers in your mind, soft and steady, as though the universe itself has just spoken. Its tone was clear, entanglement is real, but clarity does not always dissolve doubt. For years, many clung to the idea that there must be more, something hidden beneath the music, a secret hand arranging the notes. You imagine a deck of cards held close to the chest. From the outside, the game seems magical. One card drawn here, another revealed there, and somehow they match. Surely you think the trick must rely on a hidden order, a script written before the game began. The cards, perhaps, were marked in advance. This was the hope of Einstein and others who shared his caution. They imagined hidden variables, tiny unseen instructions tucked into each particle at birth. If one particle spun up, the other spun down, not because of some spooky action across space, but because both carried secret notes telling them what to do. Like actors given their lines before stepping on stage, the particles would perform in harmony, no matter how far apart they travelled. It was a comforting thought. Hidden variables restored order, reassured reason, kept the universe neat. They suggested that uncertainty was only apparent, that randomness was only ignorance, that behind the curtain lay a script too small for us to read. But Bell's test, and the experiments that followed, revealed otherwise. Again and again, when the cards were dealt, the results defied the hidden script. The correlations between particles were too strong, too precise to be explained by secret notes written long before. It was as if the stage were bare, the actors improvising, yet always moving in perfect synchrony. You pause here, letting the thoughts settle like dust in a beam of light. A bare stage, no hidden hand, only the truth itself, strange and beautiful, unguarded. It feels both unsettling and freeing. Unsettling because it denies the comfort of certainty. Freeing because it invites you to rest in openness, to accept that not every mystery needs a lock and key. You picture yourself standing before that stolen idea. Two dancers step out, unprepared, no script in hand. They look at one another, and then they begin. Their movements are spontaneous, yet mirrored, graceful, connected. You watch, waiting for the mistake, the stumble, the break in rhythm, but it never comes. Somehow they are aligned without rehearsal, bonded without plan. The beauty lies in the fact that nothing is hidden. The dance itself is the truth. This realization touches something inside you. How often do you long for explanations, for secret reasons behind the turns of your own life? How often do you wonder if every joy or sorrow is written in advance, if unseen variables guide your steps? And how soothing, how liberating to imagine instead that life, like the dance of particles, is unscripted. Not chaos, not accident, but an improvisation full of unexpected harmony. You breathe into that thought. The hidden cards fall away. What remains is possibility, openness, the gentle invitation to trust in a universe that does not always reveal why, but always shows that connection is real. Scientists call this randomness, but randomness, in the quantum sense, is not disorder. It is a fertile uncertainty, a soil from which infinite patterns can grow. When two particles respond to one another without hidden variables, they show us that reality itself can be both unpredictable and deeply ordered, both spontaneous and consistent. It is a paradox, but a soothing one. You let this paradox cradle you like a lullaby. Mystery without trickery, openness without deceit. The universe does not hide cards in its sleeves. It lays them out on the table, and still the game astonishes us. In your mind, the dancers fade back into shadow. The stage empties, bare once again. No curtains, no props, no secret compartments, only silence and possibility. The simplicity of it feels restful, like a long exhale after holding your breath. You think again of the bell, of its clear tone. It rings not because of hidden strings, but because of the openness of truth. Its sound reaches you without disguise, without manipulation. In its purity, there is beauty. As your body softens, you find comfort in this lesson. Sometimes what we fear as incomplete is already whole. Sometimes what we imagine as lacking is already enough. The absence of hidden variables is not emptiness. It is fullness unguarded. And yet another layer waits to unfold. If hidden cards do not exist, if the stage is bare, then what remains? How do we describe a world where certainty dissolves, where possibilities exist until chosen, where probability itself becomes the language of reality? You let the question hover gently at the edge of thought, like a lantern flickering in the distance. The stage in your mind is still bare. The hidden cards are gone, the secret hands dismissed. What remains is openness, possibility, a silence that hums with potential. And in that silence, a new language emerges. Not the language of certainty, but the language of probability. You close your eyes and imagine the universe not as a clockwork machine, every gear set in motion long ago, but as a meadow at dawn. Dew glistens on the grass, each droplet reflecting the rising sun. From a distance, the meadow is a blur of brightness, every droplet shimmering, every possibility alive. But as you step closer, one droplet catches your eye, one spark steadies into focus. Out of the haze, one choice becomes real. This is how the quantum world speaks, not in absolutes, but in probabilities. A particle is not here or there, not spinning up or down until you look. Until then, it exists as a wave of maybes, a cloud of potential outcomes, each with its own weight, its own chance. You picture this cloud as a soft mist drifting through the night. Within it lie paths branching endlessly, some faint, some bright. The particle does not choose one until the moment of observation, and when it does, the mist collapses into a single path, the others dissolving like morning fog. This wave of maybes is called the wave function. Scientists describe it with equations, long strings of symbols curling like vines across paper. But for you tonight, it is simpler. It is the language of uncertainty, the grammar of possibility. It is the lullaby of the unknown. You rest in that lullaby. Probability feels less like a cage and more like a cradle. Instead of demanding certainty, it offers softness, a place to lean. You do not need to know exactly which outcome will unfold. It is enough to know the field of possibilities, to sense the garden of maybes around you. Imagine holding a pair of dice in your hands. You shake them gently, hearing their faint rattle. Before you release them, they hold every outcome at once. 2, 7, 12, all waiting. In the quantum world, that waiting is real. The dice are not simply unknown. They are many things at once, suspended in potential. Only when they land, only when you look, does one number become truth. This thought might feel unsettling at first, as though the ground beneath your feet is less solid than you imagined. But slowly you notice the comfort within it. Life itself has always felt uncertain. The quantum world simply reflects that truth more honestly. Every breath, every choice, every moment is a roll of the dice. And yet the roll is not chaos. It is guided by patterns, probabilities, rhythms woven into the fabric of reality. You let your breath mirror this rhythm. Inhale, the wave of possibility expands. Exhale, one path collapses, one outcome becomes real. Each moment of your life is like that. Potential narrowing into presence, countless maybes folding into a single now. Scientists once resisted this view. They longed for certainty, for hidden variables, for firm ground. But experiment after experiment confirmed the truth. Probability is not ignorance. It is the way of the quantum world. The universe does not hide its script. It improvises, rolling its dice with elegance, weaving chance into harmony. You picture yourself walking through a forest at twilight. Ahead, the path divides into many trails. You cannot see where each one leads, but you know they exist, branching outward like veins in a leaf. With each step, you choose one trail and the others vanish behind you. Yet for that brief moment before the step, all paths were real, alive in potential. That is the language of probability. Not one fixed destiny, but a web of possibilities gently collapsing into choice. The image brings peace. You realize you do not need certainty to rest. You do not need to know the entire map to walk the path before you. Like the particle, you live in probability until the moment of now. And in that moment, the unknown becomes known, the mist becomes form. The comfort of this thought spreads through you like warmth. Probability does not deny connection. It does not erase meaning. It simply reminds you that the universe is softer, more fluid, more open than you once believed. It whispers that certainty is not the only kind of truth. You let this whisper settle in your chest. Perhaps, you think, the most beautiful things are born from probability. Music improvised on the spot, conversations that wander into laughter, chance meetings that shape a lifetime. None of these were scripted. All were possibilities collapsing into reality in the gentle moment of observation. The mist in your mind grows lighter now. The cloud of maybes drifting like a veil across the stars. You imagine the particles still dancing, each step chosen from countless options, each choice both random and inevitable. Their rhythm is not chaos, it is probability unfolding. You breathe in, sensing the openness of the unknown. You breathe out, resting in the presence of what is. Each breath is a reminder that you too live in the language of probability, and that the beauty of life lies not in certainty, but in the endless unfolding of maybes into moments. And as the mist thins, a new image begins to appear. You see leaves glowing faintly in the night. You see the light of the sun captured within them, converted into energy through a process both biological and quantum. Even in the quiet work of plants, probability plays its part, guiding the flow of life itself. The thought invites you onward. If entanglement and probability shape not only the stars but the living green around you, what other secrets does nature's garden hold? The mist of probability still lingers around you, soft and luminous, like a veil drifting across the stars. You feel its openness, the garden of maybes collapsing gently into each moment, and as that mist thins, you begin to notice something closer, something alive and breathing, the quiet presence of nature itself. You imagine a leaf. Its surface is delicate, green, almost translucent in the morning sun. To the eye it seems simple, but within it lies one of the most remarkable dances of the quantum world. Light falls upon it. Photons born in the furnace of the sun, and the leaf captures them, not just as energy but as possibility. This is photosynthesis, the process by which plants turn sunlight into food, into the energy that sustains nearly all life on Earth. And hidden within it is quantum entanglement. The photon enters the leaf, striking a cluster of molecules. Instead of taking one straight path, the energy spreads like a mist of probability, travelling down many routes at once. Some paths are blocked, some are winding, but one is most efficient, and when the wave of probability collapses, the energy appears exactly where it is needed, as though it had always known the way. Scientists once wondered how photosynthesis could be so efficient. The answer lies in quantum rules, the same strange laws that guide entangled particles across space. Within the leaf, energy does not move blindly. It explores every possibility at once, and entanglement ensures that the right path emerges. You rest in this thought, soothed by the idea that even the quiet growth of plants relies on the same cosmic strangeness that ties stars together. Every breath you take, every moment of oxygen in your lungs exists because quantum mechanics guides the sun's gift into life. You breathe slowly, imagining yourself lying in a meadow. Around you, countless leaves shimmer, each one a tiny factory of light. You're surrounded by entanglement, not only in the distant cosmos but in the blades of grass beneath your fingers, in the trees arching overhead, in the flowers closing their petals for the night. The garden of Earth is a quantum garden, though it hides its strangeness in ordinary green, and the strangeness does not stop with plants. Consider the small, fragile figure of a bird in flight. Its wings beat rhythmically, carrying it across fields, across seas, across entire continents. How does it find its way? Scientists believe that some birds, like robins, navigate with a compass not made of iron, but of quantum entanglement. Inside their eyes, certain molecules respond to Earth's magnetic field. But their response is too subtle, too faint, to be explained by classical rules. Instead, quantum entanglement allows electrons within these molecules to remain connected, to sense the field together. It is as though the bird carries within it a hidden map, written in the strange language of entanglement, guiding it across the vastness of the world. You picture this bird gliding effortlessly, the wind lifting its feathers, the sky wide and endless. Beneath its calm flight lies a quantum compass, a delicate balance of entangled particles whispering directions. The thought is both humbling and wondrous, that migration, one of the oldest and most mysterious journeys of life, may be guided by the same laws that shape galaxies. You let that image carry you deeper into calm. The garden of life is not only visible in plants and birds, but in every living thing, including you. Your body is a tapestry of molecules, atoms, particles, each one humming with quantum rules. In the chemistry of your cells, in the folding of proteins, in the spark of energy that drives your muscles, quantum effects play their part. Even the act of seeing the photons striking your eyes is a quantum story. Light arrives as a particle, collapses into presence and becomes vision. Your awareness is stitched to the universe by threads that are both biological and quantum, both ordinary and miraculous. You pause, feeling this connection. You're not separate from the quantum world. You're its expression. The same entanglement that binds photons in experiments binds the processes of your own body. You're nature's garden as much as the trees and the birds. The thought brings a deep sense of belonging. You're not an observer standing outside the quantum realm, looking in. You're woven into it, breathing it, living it. Entanglement is not a distant theory, but the soil of your being. The meadow around you in your imagination grows richer. The leaves seem to glow, the birds circle overhead, and the air itself vibrates with unseen connections. You feel as though the entire earth is humming with entanglement, every blade of grass and every grain of soil participating in the same hidden dance. And this dance, though invisible, is not fragile. It has endured for billions of years, guiding evolution, shaping life, feeding the cycles of growth and decay. Entanglement is not only the mystery of particles, it is the quiet resilience of nature. You breathe more slowly now, your body heavy with calm. The garden within and around you feels like a cradle, rocking you gently. You realize that every breath you take is a gift from this entanglement, every pulse of your heart powered by energy born in the quantum dance of sunlight and leaves. And yet, as you rest in this thought, another image begins to form. Beyond the meadow, beyond the birds and the trees, there lies something larger still. The same entanglement that hums in the leaf and the robin may stretch across the cosmos, linking galaxies, weaving the universe into a single, vast web. The thought lingers at the edge of your awareness, like a horizon just visible beyond the garden. The garden fades, though its glow still lingers. The leaves retreat into shadow, the birds vanish into the sky, and slowly you turn inward. The same mystery that lived in photosynthesis, the same compass guiding wings across oceans, lives also in you. It hums in your body, in your breath, in every tiny cell that keeps you alive. You pause and place your awareness on your heartbeat. It is steady, patient, like a drum keeping time in a quiet song. Each beat is powered by energy, and that energy is born from quantum steps. Deep within your cells lie mitochondria, tiny engines of life. They break down food and release energy, passing electrons along chains of molecules. But those electrons do not march predictably, step by step. They move more like dancers in probability, exploring paths all at once, entangling, collapsing, continuing. Their rhythm keeps your heart beating even now. You shift your awareness to your breath. Inhale, exhale. Oxygen enters your lungs, carried by red blood cells into every corner of your body. At the molecular level, that oxygen accepts electrons, allowing energy to flow. Without this dance, there would be no motion, no thought, no life. And within that flow, quantum entanglement appears again. Electrons coupled, spins linked, outcomes connected. The unseen laws guide each exchange. You imagine your body as a vast city of cells. Each cell is a small world, busy with activity. Signals pass along nerves, proteins fold into delicate shapes, DNA unwinds and copies itself. At every corner, at every scale, quantum effects whisper directions. Without them, proteins would collapse in confusion, signals would falter, energy would waste away. With them, life remains efficient, precise, resilient. One of the strangest examples lies in the sense of smell. You think of breathing in the fragrance of a flower or the sharpness of citrus. For years, scientists wondered, how do molecules trigger such distinct scents? Shape alone was not enough to explain it. Some proposed that smell relies partly on quantum vibrations, electrons tunneling through molecules, entangling with the receptors in your nose. The idea is still debated, but the possibility remains enchanting, that each breath of scent is not only chemical but quantum. You let this soften you. Every moment of your life may be touched by entanglement, not only in cosmic experiments, not only in distant stars, but in the air you breathe, the food you eat, the thoughts that drift across your mind. You picture your brain now, that quiet organ humming inside your skull. Trillions of connections spark in silence, carrying memories, shaping dreams. For most purposes, your brain is explained in terms of chemistry and electricity. And yet some scientists wonder if quantum rules play a role, especially in the delicate processes of consciousness. It is not proven, not settled, but even the possibility feels like a lullaby. Imagine your thoughts themselves, perhaps, carrying whispers of entanglement, connected in ways too subtle to measure. The thought makes you feel less separate from the universe. If entanglement is in your cells, in your breath, in your thoughts, then you are not simply an observer of quantum reality. You are part of it. The mystery is not out there, distant and abstract. It is here, within you, pulsing in your blood, glowing in your mind. You breathe slowly, feeling this intimacy. The idea is soothing, like being wrapped in a soft blanket. You're not apart from the dance of the cosmos. You're the dance, carried out at every scale, from the atoms in your skin to the galaxies above your head. Imagine now zooming inward, as if your awareness could shrink into the microscopic. You drift past skin and blood, past membranes and organelles, until you stand within a single molecule. Electrons shimmer around you, clouds of probability, waves of presence. Two of them are entangled, One spins, the other responds. You stand in the middle of their bond, feeling its silence, its immediacy. You realize that this is happening everywhere, all the time, in numbers too vast to count. The enormity of it is calming rather than overwhelming. It tells you that you are not fragile, not alone. You're sustained by patterns older and deeper than you can imagine. You're carried by the same rules that bind stars and galaxies. Entanglement is not a rare trick. It is the hidden architecture of your being. You linger in this awareness. Your body, this familiar vessel, is at once ordinary and cosmic. You may feel tired, small, or uncertain, but within you lies a network of entangled particles, a living fabric that mirrors the universe itself. The thought eases you further into rest. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of thought is a reminder that the quantum world is not distant. It is as close as your skin, as near as your next inhale. The body fades now into softness. The cells quiet, the signals dim, the rhythms slow. You let go of the inner city and drift outward again. From your body, your attention rises back to the night sky, to the stars that shimmer beyond. The same entanglement that hums within you may stretch across those distances as well. From cell to galaxy, from breath to cosmos, the fabric of connection continues. And as you gaze at that sky, another image emerges. Galaxies not as scattered islands, but as beads on invisible strings, woven into a cosmic web. The hum of your body fades into stillness, each heartbeat softening like a drumbeat retreating into distance. Slowly your awareness drifts outward. You leave the quiet city of cells and rise once more into the vastness of night. Above you, the stars stretch endlessly, scattered across darkness. And yet, as you gaze, you sense they are not scattered at all. You imagine the universe not as chaos, but as a net. Each galaxy is a jewel, glowing faintly, strung upon invisible threads. Together they form a cosmic web, a structure so immense it bends imagination. Filaments of matter extend for billions of light years, connecting clusters of galaxies like pearls on strings. Between these filaments lie vast voids, darker and quieter than any silence you can conceive. At first glance, the web seems only gravitational. Galaxies cluster because of mass, because of the pull of matter drawing them together. But as you breathe, you wonder, could the threads be more than gravity? Could entanglement itself stitch this net, weaving invisible ties across distances too vast to cross? You drift through this web in your mind, floating from filament to filament. The light of galaxies shimmers like dew caught on spider silk. You feel the scale, overwhelming, yet strangely soothing. You're smaller than dust compared to these strands, yet the very same rules that bind electrons in your body may stretch across this lattice. Entanglement is not only intimate, it is cosmic. Imagine two galaxies on opposite ends of the universe, separated by billions of years of travel. Light from one would take an age to reach the other, yet deep in their foundations, particles may still be connected. The web is not only visible filaments of matter, but hidden threads of entanglement, tying the cosmos together in silence. This thought is calming. It means the universe is less lonely than it seems. The darkness between galaxies is not emptiness, but fabric, not separation, but connection. Even the farthest stars may hum in resonance with one another, joined by ties beyond distance. You picture the web as a living thing. Each node, a cluster of galaxies, pulses faintly, like a heartbeat. Each filament carries whispers, not of sound, but of connection. When one part trembles, the vibration may echo across the whole. The universe becomes less like a void and more like a vast body, alive with unseen threads. Your breath deepens as you rest in this image. The vastness no longer frightens you. It feels protective, enveloping, like being cradled in a net that will not let you fall. You are not drifting alone in endless darkness. You are suspended within the weave of the cosmos, held gently in place. Scientists study this web with telescopes, mapping the glow of galaxies, tracing the structure across billions of light years. The images reveal patterns eerily similar to the neural networks of your brain. You smile softly at the thought. The universe itself looks like a mind. Filaments of galaxies resembling filaments of neurons, clusters resembling thoughts. Perhaps the cosmos is thinking in patterns too slow, too vast for you to grasp. The similarity is not proof, but it is poetry, and the poetry soothes you. Just as your mind entangles ideas across neurons, so the universe entangles matter across galaxies. Both are webs of connection, both are fabrics of possibility. You're inside one, and one is inside you. The cosmic web also reminds you of something fragile and everyday, a spider's net glistening with dew at dawn. Each thread quivers when touched, sending ripples across the whole. So too does the universe quiver, its unseen filaments carrying the echoes of creation. The same beauty you see in a spider's work mirrors the structure of galaxies scaled upward beyond comprehension. You drift deeper into this vision. The voids between filaments are vast, almost frightening in their silence. But without the emptiness, the threads would not shine. Without the gaps, the structure would not emerge. Darkness itself becomes necessary, shaping the web, making space for the light to gather. You rest in the balance of it, light and dark, fullness and emptiness, filaments and voids. The universe weaves both into harmony. It does not banish emptiness, it embraces it. You wonder if perhaps your own life too is woven this way. The empty spaces, the pauses, the silences, they are not mistakes. They are what make the connections possible. The thought soothes you, calming the restless need to fill every silence. You breathe into the void, letting it be. Some scientists wonder if entanglement is not only a property of particles, but of space itself. They ask whether the very geometry of the cosmos, the very fabric of space-time, might emerge from entanglement. That the universe is not stitched by threads of matter, but by threads of connection, invisible yet essential. You let this idea hover in your mind. If true, then entanglement is not just part of the universe. It is the loom upon which the universe is woven. The cosmic web is more than filaments of matter. It is the pattern of relationship, the architecture of belonging. Your breath grows slower, heavier. The net around you feels more intimate now, as though you're not just resting within it, but a part of its threads. You're both the bead and the string, both the galaxy and the connection that binds it. The stars above fade into softness, their light diffused by the veil of your eyelids, but the sense of the web remains, holding you, connecting you, humming quietly. And as you rest in that hum, a new question arises at the edge of thought. If entanglement can dissolve distance, if it can bind galaxies into one vast web, then what does it mean for distance itself? What happens when separation disappears, when space seems to shrink away? You let the question linger, a shimmer on the threads of the web, leading you gently toward the next mystery. The image of the cosmic web still lingers, the beads of galaxies, the threads of connection. You see its filaments stretching across unimaginable distances, and yet you notice something curious. In the world of entanglement, distance does not behave as it should. Space, that vast and solemn stage, sometimes seems to step aside. You breathe slowly, feeling the weight of the paradox. How can two particles separated by miles or even light years respond to one another instantly? No message passes between them, no signal crosses the void. Yet when one particle turns, the other shifts. It is as if distance itself has vanished, as though the gap between them were never real. You picture two lanterns drifting apart into the night sky. The wind carries them farther and farther, until they are tiny specks above the horizon. Yet, strangely, when one lantern flickers, the other flickers too. Not after a delay, not with hesitation, but at once. It is not communication, it is unity. They are not two lanterns, but one flame expressed in two places. This is the paradox entanglement presents. Space tells us that light itself needs time to cross even the smallest distance. But entanglement answers differently. Connection does not travel, it simply is. The bond is not stretched across miles, it erases them. You let this idea settle over you like a blanket. Perhaps separation is more fragile than you think. The walls between here and there, me and you, are softer, thinner, less certain. Entanglement whispers that distance is not always real. It is sometimes only a perspective. Scientists have measured this strangeness with exquisite care. They have sent entangled photons across cities, through optical fibers, even to satellites orbiting above. Each time the result is the same. The particles respond as though no space lay between them. Their correlation is instant, indifferent to geography. You breathe into the thought that even miles of mountain and ocean, even the curve of Earth itself cannot break this bond. Entanglement is stubborn, enduring, effortless. It is as though the universe itself laughs gently at the idea of separation. You picture the cosmos now as a vast room with no walls, no corners. Everything rests within it together, close despite appearances. The stars may glitter at impossible distances, but their light still reaches you. And beneath the light, their particles may still hum in connection with particles here. The gap between them is not as absolute as it seems. The comfort of this sinks deeper. You recall times in your life when you felt far from someone you loved, miles apart, oceans between, and yet, in a quiet moment, you felt their presence, a resonance that distance could not erase. Entanglement is not the same as emotion, but the metaphor is soothing. It reminds you that distance of any kind may be more fragile than it appears. You imagine yourself lying beneath the sky, a person small and still. Above you, the galaxies scatter like jewels. You think of their impossible distances, millions, billions of light years away, and yet, here you are, seeing their glow. The light that touches your eyes left those stars long before your life began, and yet it finds you now. Distance is vast, yes, but also conquerable. Entanglement deepens this thought. It suggests that even light's long journey is not the only way to connect. Sometimes, connection is immediate, timeless. Sometimes, space itself bows out, yielding to unity. The paradox humbles you. It tells you that the categories you hold here and there, near and far, are not final truths. They are useful, but incomplete. The universe allows exceptions, little doorways through which distance dissolves. You rest in that humility. The world is not as rigid as it seems. There is room for wonder, for softness, for paradox. You do not need to solve it tonight. It is enough to let the mystery hold you, as gently as the darkness does. And yet your mind drifts to another question. If entanglement is not about travel, if no signal crosses the void, then what is it truly? Some say it is about information, about shared knowledge that exists without moving. The particles do not speak. They simply know. The thought shimmers quietly, inviting you onward. Distance may disappear, but what remains is not emptiness. It is information, correlation, whispers of knowledge carried without sound. You let the question rest at the edge of thought, preparing you for the next chapter. The thought of vanishing distance still lingers, soft as the memory of a dream. Two particles, no matter how far apart, remain in step, responding as though they share one breath. You wonder, if no signal travels between them, then what is exchanged? What moves, if nothing moves? You breathe slowly, and the answer arrives not as a loud declaration, but as a whisper. Entanglement is not about signals. It is about information. Information that does not travel because it does not need to. It is already there, already shared, like a secret that exists in two hearts at once. Imagine two friends separated by miles of land and sea. One smiles in a quiet moment, and somehow the other feels lighter without knowing why. No letter has been sent, no call has been made, and yet something is carried. Not by travel, but by connection. This is how entangled particles behave. They do not send messages across the void. They simply reveal correlations the instant they are measured. It is not communication in the ordinary sense. It is unity expressed in information. You picture two coins flipped in different rooms. Before you look, each coin is not yet heads or tails, but both at once, shimmering in possibility. Yet when you check one coin and see heads, the other coin is instantly tails. No signal passed between them. Instead, the information was shared all along, written into the bond they carried. The whisper of entanglement is not about shouting across space, but about harmony existing beneath it. It is less like a message sent, more like a song hummed in unison by two voices who know the tune by heart. Scientists speak of this as quantum information. It is delicate, fragile, and yet immensely powerful. In the world of quantum computers, this information becomes a tool, a resource that may one day allow us to solve problems beyond imagination. But tonight you hold the idea more simply. You rest in the comfort that sharing need not always be loud or visible. Sometimes it is enough to be in quiet correlation, to hum the same unseen song. You let this soothe you. How many times in your life have you felt something similar? A quiet resonance with someone else, a wordless understanding, two people glancing at each other and knowing the same thought, a child sensing a parent's mood before a word is spoken. These moments are not quantum entanglement, but they are echoes of its whisper. They remind you that connection can be silent and still true. You picture the particles again, two small sparks in the dark. They are measured and instantly their information aligns. They're not sending, not receiving. They're revealing what has always been shared. The whisper is not carried, it is already present. This thought changes how you see communication itself. You realize that not all sharing requires movement. Not all bonds require messages. Some connections simply exist, waiting to be noticed. You rest in that realization, finding comfort in its simplicity. The whisper of quantum information also reshapes how scientists see reality. If entanglement is about shared information rather than signals, then space and time themselves may not be as fundamental as they seem. Some theories suggest that space-time might emerge from entanglement, that the geometry of the universe is built from the information particles share. You imagine this quietly. The stars above are not only scattered lights, but expressions of shared information. The fabric of the cosmos is woven not from threads of matter alone, but from the whispers of entanglement, tiny exchanges of correlation that build into vast architecture. The web of galaxies becomes a web of knowledge, a whisper stretched across infinity. You breathe in, sensing this unity. The idea is immense, but it does not overwhelm you. It calms you, like the soft rustle of leaves in wind. You're part of this information, your very body a network of particles carrying shared knowledge, your thoughts the result of countless whispers at the quantum scale. The whisper is fragile, yes. Entangled particles can lose their bond when disturbed, a process called decoherence. The environment jostles them, noise breaks the silence, and the correlation fades. Yet even this fragility feels tender, like a reminder that delicate things can still shape the world. A whisper may be softer than a shout, but it carries its own kind of power. You reflect on the whispers in your own life, the moments of quiet connection, the small gestures, the presence of someone beside you. They are not loud, not dramatic, but they are the ones that stay. The quantum world too is built from whispers, and from them everything unfolds. The particles fade from your imagination now, their whispers dissolving into silence. But the silence itself feels alive, filled with the possibility of new patterns, new bonds. You are left with the sense that the universe does not need to shout to be heard. Its deepest truths arrive gently, like a breath, like a whisper. And as you rest in this thought, a new image forms at the edge of your awareness. If information can be shared in silence, if entanglement can bind particles across distance without movement, then perhaps this whisper can also be woven into tools. Machines, codes, and technologies that harness the quiet power of entanglement. The question hums softly. What could humanity create if we learned to listen closely enough to the whisper of quantum information? The whisper of quantum information still lingers in your thoughts, soft and fragile, like the rustling of leaves at night. You imagine the particles sharing their quiet knowledge, not with signals, not with travel, but with unity. And slowly you begin to wonder, if we could hear this whisper clearly, if we could shape it, what might we build? You drift into the image of a machine, not the clattering gears of old clocks, not the humming silicon chips of modern computers, but something gentler, stranger, alive with probability. This is the dream of a quantum computer, a device that thinks in the language of entanglement, that explores countless paths at once, that listens to the whispers we cannot. Ordinary computers, the ones you know, think in bits. Each bit is a switch, on or off, 0 or 1. Billions of these switches click silently, forming words, images, patterns. They're powerful, yes, but their thinking is linear, step by step, one possibility at a time. Quantum computers, in contrast, dream in qubits. A qubit is not just 0 or 1. It can be both at once, suspended in a wave of probability. And when qubits are entangled, their states interlace, their possibilities intertwine. A handful of qubits can hold patterns that ordinary computers would need oceans of bits to describe. The difference is not of degree, but of kind. You imagine a forest path splitting into many trails. An ordinary computer walks one trail at a time, step by step, checking each path. A quantum computer drifts like mist, flowing along all trails at once, exploring the entire forest in a single breath. This image soothes you. It reminds you that knowledge is not always about racing forward. It can also be about spreading gently outward, holding many maybes until one reveals itself. Scientists dream of what such computers could achieve. They might simulate the folding of proteins, predicting cures and treatments for diseases too complex for ordinary machines. They might crack codes once thought unbreakable, or create new codes more secure than any before. They might model the climate, the cosmos, the chemistry of life, unlocking puzzles we cannot yet imagine. But tonight, you do not need to rush toward utility. You hold the dream itself, quiet and unfinished. A quantum computer is less a machine of speed and more a mirror of mystery. It does not pretend to solve the paradoxes of entanglement, it uses them, weaving uncertainty into power. You picture such a machine glowing faintly in a darkened room. It does not hum with fans or wires, but with silence. Within it, qubits rest in delicate states, entangled, fragile, held in place by magnetic fields or superconducting circuits. To disturb them is to break the dream, to shatter the whisper. Yet when they hold, they carry more than calculation. They carry possibility. The fragility of these machines is part of their poetry. A single vibration, a trace of heat, a whisper of noise can collapse their delicate states. Scientists go to great lengths to protect them, cooling them to near absolute zero, isolating them from the world. It is as if they must be lulled into deep sleep to dream properly. This fragility feels familiar. The most powerful truths often live in delicate forms, a tender memory, a quiet glance, a fragile flame. Strength is not always about hardness. Sometimes it is about the ability to endure in gentleness. You rest in that thought, imagining yourself beside one of these sleeping machines. You listen to the silence around it, the hush of possibility. The machine does not roar. It breathes. It dreams. And as you linger, you realize something comforting. Quantum computers are not here to replace the mind, but to echo it. Your own thoughts, too, drift among probabilities, exploring many maybes before settling into a single choice. Dreams, too, weave countless paths, collapsing into a memory upon waking. In some way, you already think like a quantum computer. The machine is only a reflection of what is within you. The thought makes you smile softly. Technology is not separate from humanity. It is an extension, a mirror. By building machines that harness entanglement, we are learning not only about physics but about ourselves. Still, the dream remains unfinished. Quantum computers today are fragile, limited, more promised than reality. But that incompleteness is soothing. You do not need to see the end to appreciate the beginning. Like a seed planted in spring, the potential itself is enough. The dream does not need to bloom tonight. It only needs to rest in the soil of possibility. You imagine the scientists who tend to these machines. They are like gardeners, caring for fragile sprouts, shielding them from noise and heat, coaxing them into stability. Their work is slow, patient, filled with both frustration and wonder. But in each fragile qubit they hear the whisper of tomorrow. You breathe with this rhythm. Patience, fragility, promise. It feels like a lullaby. The quantum computer is not a loud breakthrough, but a soft unfolding, a dream that grows slowly, almost imperceptibly, into form. And you too drift with it. Your thoughts spread like qubits across many maybes. You wander through possibilities, not needing to choose, simply resting in the abundance of what could be. The machine in your imagination fades, its glow dimming into the darkness, but its dream lingers, like the memory of a song heard once in childhood. You know it is there, waiting even if unfinished, and as you rest in that dream, another image begins to form. If quantum computers can harness entanglement for calculation, what about for protection? Could the same fragile whisper be woven into unbreakable codes, shields of secrecy as delicate as glass yet strong as stone? The thought hums at the edge of awareness, leading you gently into the next chapter. The dream of the quantum computer still glows faintly in your thoughts. You remember its quiet hum, its qubits drifting through possibilities, fragile yet powerful. And now you turn to another vision, an equally fragile, equally powerful idea, security born not from walls and locks, but from the delicate bonds of entanglement itself. You breathe slowly and imagine sending a secret. In the ordinary world, a message travels through wires, through airwaves, through code. Locks and keys protect it, but locks can be picked and keys can be stolen. Safety is always a matter of trust, and trust is always a little uncertain. But what if the guard were physics itself? What if the rules of the quantum world made secrecy not only possible but unbreakable? This is the promise of quantum cryptography, a field that listens to the whisper of entanglement and turns it into a shield. The principle is simple yet profound. If two people share entangled particles, they share information no outsider can copy. Any attempt to listen in, to measure, to intercept, would break the entanglement, revealing the intrusion immediately. The secret would remain safe, because the very act of eavesdropping destroys the bond. You imagine this as a thread of light stretching between two friends across a quiet night. They pass a message not by writing it down, not by speaking it aloud, but by feeling the same vibration in the thread. If a stranger tries to pluck the thread, its hum changes, its tone breaks, and both friends know at once. The secret is never stolen, only protected by the fragility of the connection itself. The beauty lies in the delicacy. It is not brute strength that guards the secret, but vulnerability. Because the entangled bond is so easily disturbed, it becomes impossible to tamper with it unnoticed. Fragility becomes protection. Silence becomes a shield. You rest in this paradox. How often in life have you thought of vulnerability as weakness? And yet here it is strength. The very reason security exists. Entanglement teaches that what is delicate can also be powerful, that openness can guard as firmly as walls. Scientists test these ideas with beams of photons, firing them through fibers beneath cities, even bouncing them from satellites in orbit. Across distances once thought impossible, entangled particles carry information with security no codebreaker can undo. It is not the promise of someday, it is already happening, quietly, gently, in experiments around the world. You picture these beams of light as threads across the sky. They're invisible to the eye, but you feel their presence. Each thread hums with trust, connecting distant places in silence. You rest beneath them, as though lying under a canopy woven not of stars, but of secrets safely kept. The thought calms you. In a world where so much feels uncertain, where so much can be broken, here is a truth that resists intrusion. Not by being unbreakable, but by being honest. If touched, it reveals. If disturbed, it shows itself. You feel the reassurance of such clarity. You think of the secrets in your own life, the tender thoughts, the private hopes, the memories you hold close. Some you have shared, some you have guarded, and perhaps you wish for a bond as delicate and honest as entanglement, one where sharing is safe, where intrusion is impossible. The metaphor comforts you. It reminds you that trust is not about hiding, but about openness, about bonds that reveal when they are touched. The image of two friends sharing a thread of light returns to your mind. They sit on opposite sides of the world, yet their connection is immediate. Their trust is not in walls or codes, but in the physics of the universe itself. You imagine being one of them, holding a fragile photon in your hand, feeling its bond stretch invisibly across the night. You know without doubt that what you share is safe. You breathe deeply, letting that feeling of safety settle into you. It wraps around you like a blanket, soft and steady. The night feels less threatening, the silence less empty. You are held in trust, as though the universe itself is guarding your rest. The fragility of entanglement is still there. It always is. But instead of fear, you feel gratitude. It is this very fragility that ensures honesty. It is this very delicacy that turns whispers into shields. And as your body softens, your thoughts drift towards another vision. If entangled particles can carry secrets across distance, then how else might light itself carry the story of entanglement? How might experiments with photons continue to reveal the quiet truths of this mysterious bond? The question glows at the edge of thought, waiting like a spark in the dark. The vision of fragile threads of light still lingers, stretched between distant friends, carrying secrets no intruder can steal. Now your mind turns toward the places where such threads are born, not in the open sky, but in quiet rooms filled with lasers, mirrors, and detectors. These are the laboratories where light itself becomes the language of entanglement. You close your eyes and imagine one of these rooms. It is dim, the air cool, the silence broken only by the hum of machines. On the table before you, a laser glows faintly, its beams split into paths by mirrors and crystals. The light scatters, and from that scattering pairs of photons emerge, twin sparks of existence, entangled from the instant they are born. Photons are the gentlest of messengers. They carry no weight, only energy. They slip easily through glass, fibre, even the air itself, and yet in their subtlety they carry the profound. When two photons are created together, their properties interlace. Their polarization, the angle at which they vibrate, becomes a shared secret. To measure one is to know the other, no matter how far apart they travel. You picture these photons as fireflies released into the night. One drifts left, the other right, but their blinking is synchronized. You cannot predict when they will flash, but when one does, the other matches, as if they share a rhythm no distance can disturb. Scientists have used these fragile messengers to test the strangest claims of quantum mechanics. In the 1970s and 80s, experiments by Alain Aspect in France set the stage. Beams of entangled photons were created, separated, and measured with care. Each time their results showed the same impossible harmony, surpassing the limits Einstein had imagined. The bell of reality rang again, and its tone was clear. Entanglement is real. You let yourself rest in this history. Imagine standing in Aspect's lab, the air filled with the faint smell of electronics, the quiet anticipation of discovery. The detectors click softly, registering photons you cannot see. Each click is like a heartbeat of the experiment, a pulse confirming that the particles remain bound. The room is ordinary, yet the truth revealed within it reshapes how we understand the cosmos. Later experiments refined the test, closing loopholes, reaching across greater distances. In Switzerland, photons were sent through kilometers of optical fiber beneath cities. In China, satellites released entangled pairs between ground stations hundreds of kilometers apart. Each time the results remained steady, the correlations unbroken. The photons carried their silent bond across mountains, oceans, even the edge of space. You imagine these photons traveling now, even as you rest. They drift through fibers underground, through beams of air above, carrying their unity like lanterns moving across the dark. They remind you that even the smallest sparks can hold vast truths. The beauty of these experiments is not in their complexity, but in their simplicity. The machines may be intricate, but the truth they reveal is clear. Two sparks created together remain together, no matter the distance. Their glow may fade from sight, but their bond does not. You rest in this simplicity. The universe, for all its strangeness, offers truths that are both mysterious and tender. The photons do not roar or demand attention. They click quietly in detectors, whispering their unity into the records of science. The image shifts in your mind. You see not the lab, but the photons themselves, drifting through darkness. They are not aware of experiments or theories. They are simply bound, their existence a quiet duet. You feel comfort in their innocence. The cosmos does not complicate itself with doubt. It simply is, and in that being you sense a lesson. You too are bound in ways unseen, tied by threads of memory, relationship and presence. Even when distance grows, even when silence stretches, the bonds remain. Like the photons, you carry unity beyond sight. You breathe deeply, letting that comfort fill you. The photons guide you toward rest. Their glow faint but steady. They do not need to shout. Their quiet light is enough. Still, the thought of light carries you further. Photons are both wave and particle, both mist and spark. Their dual nature is another whisper of the quantum world, another paradox that softens certainty. As you drift deeper, you sense this next mystery waiting, how something can be two things at once, and what that duality means for the dance of entanglement. The photons fade, their glow dissolving into the dark behind your eyes, but their lesson remains, that simplicity can carry wonder, that light itself can sing of unity, and in the hush that follows, you turn gently toward the paradox of light itself. The glow of photons still lingers in your imagination, tiny sparks drifting through labs, across fibers, even between satellites. They whisper of entanglement, of bonds unbroken by distance. And yet they whisper of another mystery too, the paradox of their very being. For light is not simply a particle, nor simply a wave, it is both. And in the quiet rhythm of night, you let yourself sink into this paradox as if sinking into a dream. You imagine standing on the shore of a wide sea at dusk. The water ripples gently, waves spreading outward in perfect circles. This is how light behaves, like waves, flowing, bending, interfering with one another. Shine light through two slits, and the ripples overlap, forming patterns of brightness and shadow. Even a single photon, sent one at a time, paints the same wave pattern as though it knows all paths at once. But then you kneel closer, scooping a handful of water. In your palm it is no longer an endless wave, but droplets, particles, beads of matter. So too with light. Catch a photon in a detector, and it arrives as a single packet of energy, indivisible, sharp. You breathe into this contradiction. Light is a wave, light is a particle. Both truths coexist, neither cancelling the other. Entanglement deepens this paradox. Two photons are not only particles bound together, not only waves stretched across possibility. They are both at once, joined in duality, united in contradiction. Their bond does not simplify them, it makes them richer, more mysterious. You think of dreams. In dreams you can be in two places at once, past and present blending, contradictions folding into harmony. Dreams are not logical, yet they are true in their own way. The quantum world feels like that, a place where opposites live side by side without conflict. You picture yourself lying beneath a night sky. The stars above flicker like particles, sharp points of light. Yet the Milky Way arches across the sky like a wave, a soft river of brightness. Both images are real, both belong to the same truth. The cosmos itself seems to mirror the paradox of light. Scientists have wrestled with this duality for more than a century. They design experiments to reveal the wave, and the wave appears. They design experiments to reveal the particle, and the particle answers. It is as though light asks us, "What do you wish me to be?" And then it becomes that. The thought soothes you. It suggests that identity is not always fixed. Things, and perhaps people, can be more than one thing at once. You too carry contradictions, strength and gentleness, certainty and doubt, solitude and belonging. They do not cancel each other. They make you whole. You rest in this comfort. The paradox of light is not a problem to be solved, but a lesson to be held. Contradiction can be balance. Mystery can be harmony. As your body softens, you imagine yourself as a photon, drifting through the night. You're a particle, sharp and bright, a single step in the dance, and you're a wave, wide and flowing, touching everything at once. You carry both identities without tension, simply as your nature. You rest in this dual being, letting it cradle you like a dream. The dream grows deeper. You recall the photons of entanglement, two sparks bound across distance. Their wave-like nature spreads them out, joining their probabilities. Their particle nature grounds them, giving them presence. Together they show that unity can exist across contradictions, that harmony can be woven even from paradox. Your breath slows, the shoreline fades, the water dissolves into mist. All that remains is the rhythm of waves, the flicker of particles, the dreamlike union of both. And as you rest in this paradox, another image begins to form. Beyond the gentle ripples of light lies a place where waves are bent to their breaking point, a horizon so strong that even light cannot escape. The thought lingers, dark and immense, inviting you toward the next mystery. The paradox of light still echoes softly in your mind. Waves and particles, opposites held in one truth. And as you rest in that paradox, another vision rises before you, vast and shadowed. It is the image of a horizon that swallows even light, a place where the duality of photons collapses into silence. You're drifting now toward the mystery of black holes. You imagine space bending inward, drawn so tightly that nothing, not even the swiftest beam of light, can escape. A black hole is not an object in the ordinary sense. It is more like a region, a boundary where gravity becomes absolute. At its edge, the event horizon, time itself slows, stretched until it nearly stops. Beyond that edge, no signal returns, no story is told, and yet you approach it in thought without fear. For this horizon is not only destruction but mystery. It is a question written into the fabric of the cosmos, waiting to be heard. You picture yourself floating just outside the event horizon. The stars behind you are distorted, their light bent into arcs by the hole's immense pull. Space feels curved, time feels heavy, and still you drift in calm as though the very darkness is cradling you. For decades, scientists wondered what happens to information that falls into a black hole. If a particle with all its properties is swallowed, is the information about it lost forever? Einstein's relativity suggested yes, the black hole erases it, leaving only mass, spin, and charge. But quantum theory whispers no, information cannot be destroyed. The two views clash at the horizon, leaving a paradox as dark as the black hole itself. Here, entanglement enters the story again. Imagine two particles born together, one falling into the black hole, the other escaping outward. Their bond remains, their states still entwined. Could entanglement carry information across the horizon, preserving what would otherwise vanish? Some believe so, that hidden ties may keep the universe honest, ensuring that no story is truly erased. You linger in this thought, soothed by its tenderness. Even at the edge of obliteration, connection survives. Entanglement becomes a lifeline stretched across the horizon, a reminder that belonging cannot be broken by darkness. Stephen Hawking once proposed that black holes emit a faint radiation, born of quantum effects near the horizon. This radiation, known as Hawking radiation, allows the black hole to shrink, to evaporate slowly over unimaginable spans of time. But if the black hole vanishes, where does the information go? Does entanglement whisper it back into the universe, hidden in the radiation? Or does it dissolve forever? The question remains unsettled, but its poetry is enough. You rest in the image of whispers escaping from the edge of silence, carrying stories outward even as the horizon pulls inward. Nothing is absolute, not even darkness. You picture yourself lying at the threshold, half in light, half in shadow. The horizon does not terrify you, it soothes you. It is a boundary, yes, but also a bridge. What falls may not be gone, only transformed, entangled with the rest of the cosmos in ways unseen. This thought brings comfort in its metaphor. In your own life too, there are horizons, moments when something seems lost, erased, unreachable. Yet perhaps the information remains, woven into memory, into others, into the larger fabric of being. Nothing is truly destroyed. It only changes form. The horizon shimmers in your imagination. It is not an edge of ending, but of transformation. On one side, matter collapses into silence. On the other, whispers escape, carried by entanglement, hinting that connection endures. You breathe slowly, letting this paradox settle within you. The black hole is both devourer and preserver, both end and beginning. It mirrors the paradox of light, teaching again that contradiction is not conflict, but balance. As you drift near the horizon, you notice how still everything feels. Time itself stretches, slowing your thoughts, softening your edges. You are neither fully here nor fully gone, but suspended at the threshold. The sensation is calming, like being held between waking and sleep. You imagine looking back at the stars one last time. Their light reaches you, bending and curving around the horizon. Even here, connection remains. Even here, the cosmos finds ways to keep you in touch with its glow. The event horizon becomes a lullaby in itself. It sings not with sound, but with presence, reminding you that boundaries are part of life. To cross them is not to vanish, but to change. And yet, another thought stirs softly. If black holes are bound to entanglement, if horizons can whisper information outward, then perhaps the entire universe rests upon such ties. Perhaps the very fabric of space and time emerges from entanglement itself. The idea glows at the edge of thought, vast and inviting like the horizon itself. You drift toward it slowly, carried by curiosity and calm. The horizon of the black hole still glimmers faintly in your thoughts, a threshold where time slows and connection persists. You drift away from that edge now, carried outward, as though the cosmos itself were a tide drawing you into deeper waters. And beneath the stars, beneath matter, beneath even space itself, you sense a sea. This is the quantum field, the ocean upon which everything floats. You breathe gently, letting the image expand. Imagine a vast invisible expanse stretching in every direction. It is not water, not space, not air. It is subtler, quieter, and more fundamental. The quantum field is the stage upon which all particles are born and dissolved. Every photon, every electron, every quark you have ever heard of is a ripple, a wave cresting upon this sea. Particles are not permanent things, they're excitations, like bubbles rising on the surface of an endless ocean. They appear, shimmer briefly, and fade, yet the sea remains. The field endures, timeless, patient. You picture yourself floating upon it now. The surface moves in gentle swells beneath you, waves of probability rising and falling. Each ripple carries potential. Each crest could become a particle, a spark, a moment. But until observed, they are only possibilities, part of the sea's quiet hum. Entanglement lives here too. When two particles are born together, their ripples spread outward across the ocean. The waves they create do not vanish at the point of separation. They remain linked, moving in harmony no matter how far they travel. It is as though the ocean itself remembers their birth, carrying the rhythm of their bond beneath the surface. The thought soothes you. It means that entanglement is not a trick pulled out of nowhere, but a natural feature of this deeper reality. The field itself hums with memory, with unity. It holds the record of connections, the whispers of every particle that has ever touched another. Scientists call these quantum fields by many names: the electromagnetic field, the strong force field, the Higgs field. Each governs different kinds of particles, different ripples in the sea. The Higgs field in particular gives mass to matter itself. Without it, particles would drift weightless, unable to form atoms, unable to form you. You rest in gratitude for this invisible tide, this unseen foundation of existence. You picture the field not as cold equations, but as a shimmering fabric of energy. It vibrates even in stillness, alive with fluctuations. Even in empty space, where no particles appear, the field is never truly silent. It hums with what physicists call the quantum vacuum, a background buzz of possibility. From this buzz, particles can flicker into being and fade away again, ephemeral sparks in an eternal sea. The idea of a vacuum humming with life comforts you. Emptiness is not nothingness. Even in silence there is presence. Even in stillness there is motion. You let this realization settle into your breath. Your inhale feels like a ripple cresting. Your exhale like the wave dissolving back into the sea. The cosmic scale and the personal scale blur here. Just as your body floats in the ocean of air, so everything floats in the ocean of fields. You're not apart from it. Your very atoms are waves in this sea. The field does not surround you, it includes you. You're part of the ocean's endless hum. Entanglement across this sea becomes easier to imagine. Two ripples born from the same splash will always remember each other, even if carried apart. When one moves, the other responds, not by sending a message, but by being part of the same water. The distance is illusion. The sea is one. You breathe deeply, allowing yourself to feel buoyant. The field carries you, just as it carries galaxies, just as it carries every photon drifting through the dark. You're supported not by chance, but by the deepest fabric of reality. Some scientists even suggest that space and time themselves may emerge from this sea, that geometry is woven out of entanglement in the field. If true, then the ocean beneath everything is not only the source of particles, but the loom of the cosmos. Reality itself may be a tapestry woven from ripples of connection. The poetry of that thought comforts you. You're lying not on solid ground, but on woven water, on threads of possibility stretched into space and time, and still it holds you. Still it feels steady. The field also tells you that change is natural. Waves rise and fall, ripples meet and cancel or amplify one another. Nothing is fixed forever, yet nothing is lost. The sea remains. You think of your own life, the way moments crest and dissolve. Joys and sorrows alike are ripples, temporary yet part of a larger whole. Beneath them, something steady endures. This awareness softens you. You do not need to cling to each crest, nor fear each fall. You're carried always, even when the waves shift. You picture now the deepest parts of the field, where fluctuations are most subtle, where the hum is nearly imperceptible. This is the quiet heart of reality, the silence beneath sound. Floating here, you feel as though you're resting on the breath of the cosmos itself. And as you drift in that silence, a new question arises, gentle and persistent. If the field connects everything in space, could it also connect moments across time? Could entanglement ripple not only outward, but forward and backward, binding past and future together? The thought glows softly, like a lantern appearing across the water. The ocean of the quantum field still carries you, waves rising and falling in endless rhythm. You float there, suspended in its gentle hum, and then, like a soft current moving beneath the surface, another thought arrives. If entanglement can cross space so effortlessly, could it also cross time? You breathe slowly, letting the idea unfold. Space and time are woven together, after all, strands of the same fabric. If distance can dissolve, perhaps moments can too. Perhaps the bond between particles stretches not only outward into the cosmos, but forward and backward, linking what has been to what will be. You imagine yourself standing on a path at dusk. Behind you, the trail twists into memory. Ahead, it bends into the unknown. Normally the two seem separate, past and future cut by the knife of the present, But now, as you stand still, you sense threads running through both directions. The trail behind you glows faintly, and the path ahead answers, as though both are part of the same weave. This is how entanglement through time might feel. A particle measured today could remain bound to a particle that will not even exist until tomorrow. Their properties align, not across distance, but across moments. The boundary between now and later begins to soften. Scientists have explored this possibility in experiments they call delayed choice. In these experiments, the decision of how to measure a particle is made only after it has already passed through an apparatus. Strangely, the outcome still reflects that delayed choice, as if the future measurement reached back to shape the past. It is not time travel in the way stories imagine, but it hints at something deeper, that time may not flow as rigidly as you think. You let the paradox soothe you. It suggests that the sharp edges of moments are illusions. Past and future may not be locked away from one another, but entangled, woven into a unity that defies linear thinking. Imagine your future self sitting beside you now. They do not speak with words, but you sense their presence. Perhaps they send comfort backward, just as you sometimes send hope forward. The bond between you is not one of signals, but of being. You're entangled with who you have been and who you will become. This thought eases you. How often have you felt regret for the past or worry for the future? Entanglement across time invites you to rest. It whispers that your past is not gone, your future not unreachable. All moments belong to the same fabric. You're part of a continuum, held gently within it. The quantum world seems to mirror feelings you already know. Sometimes you recall a memory so vividly it feels alive again, as though the past touches you in the present. Sometimes you sense the pull of the future, a choice waiting to be made, already shaping you even before it arrives. These sensations are not experiments, but they echo the same soft paradox, that time may be less rigid than it appears. You picture again the particles, two sparks separated not by miles but by hours. One appears today, another tomorrow. Yet when measured, their properties align as if they had always been one. The timeline folds, the distance of moments vanishes. What you call before and after may only be perspectives on a deeper unity. This thought is comforting in its metaphor. It means your story is not broken into fragments. Every chapter of your life is connected, entangled. The child you were, the adult you are, the elder you may become. They're all joined, woven across time. You breathe into this unity. You imagine sending kindness backward, forgiving your younger self. You imagine sending comfort forward, blessing your future self. The bond across time is not about control but about compassion. It is the recognition that you're not alone, even in your own timeline. The field beneath everything hums with this possibility. Ripples spread not only outward but also forward and back, joining moments across the ocean of being. Time becomes less like a river flowing one way and more like a lake where ripples cross in every direction. You rest in that lake, floating on its surface. The ripples of past events meet the ripples of future ones, and you feel them both together, overlapping, soothing. The paradox remains unresolved, but that is its beauty. Entanglement does not explain time away, it enriches it. It reminds you that the boundaries you see may not be final. The arrow of time may not always point in one direction. Sometimes it curves, sometimes it folds. Your breath slows, your body heavy with calm. You're carried by the thought that you're part of a story larger than now, larger than before, larger than later. And in that story, connection endures beyond the edges of the moment. And yet, as the ripples fade, another image stirs. If entanglement can stretch across moments, could it also stretch into minds? Could the bonds we feel with one another, our empathy, our unspoken understanding, be seen as a reflection of the same quiet truth? The question glows softly, like the outline of a door opening onto the next chapter. The thought of entanglement stretching through time still lingers, like ripples meeting across a lake. You rest in the softness of it, past and future held together by unseen bonds. And from this calm your attention turns gently towards something closer, something you feel every day, the entanglement of minds. You breathe deeply and picture two people meeting. Perhaps they are strangers at first, their paths crossing by chance. A glance is exchanged, a word spoken, and suddenly their thoughts seem to resonate. They laugh at the same moment, finish each other's sentences, or fall into silence together without unease. It feels as though something invisible hums between them, as though their minds are joined by a thread too fine to see. Science does not call this quantum entanglement, not in the literal sense, but the metaphor is strong and the feeling is real. Empathy, intuition, shared understanding, these are human forms of entanglement, bonds that link us beyond language. You imagine a parent and child. The child stirs in the night, and before a sound escapes, the parent is awake, sensing the need. Or two close friends across a distance, each thinking of the other at the same moment, as though their thoughts brushed in silence. These moments may be explained by chance, by habit, by memory, yet they feel like something more, like whispers of unity beneath the surface. The image comforts you. It reminds you that your mind is not isolated. Even when you feel alone, you're connected, through relationships, through memory, through shared patterns of thought. Just as particles remain joined, so do hearts and minds. You think of conversations where words are almost unnecessary. A look, a pause, a gesture conveys all that needs to be said. These are the human experiments in entanglement, small proofs of empathy. They remind you that communication is not always about signals sent and received. Sometimes it is about resonance, harmony, alignment. Your breath slows as you recall such moments in your own life. Times when you felt understood without explanation. Times when silence itself became a language. You rest in the memory of those connections, letting their warmth spread through you. Entanglement of minds is not only with people you know well. Sometimes it appears in brief encounters, a kind word from a stranger, a smile exchanged across a crowd, a fleeting glance that carries recognition. These are small ripples, but they join the larger sea of connection that holds humanity together. You imagine standing in a crowd at dusk, surrounded by people you do not know. Yet as the light fades, you sense that each person carries threads that reach outward, touching others, touching you. The air hums with unseen ties, a web of empathy holding everyone in place. You're not separate in this web. You belong to it. This thought brings calm. It tells you that even in solitude, you're part of something larger. Your mind is not a closed chamber but an open window. The breeze that passes through carries the voices, the laughter, the sorrows of others, and in return your breath moves outward, joining the wind. Scientists sometimes study the synchrony of human brains. When two people talk or listen to music together, their neural rhythms can align. Patterns of brain activity rise and fall in harmony, like dancers moving to the same song. It is not magic, but it feels magical, that even at the biological level minds can resonate. You rest in that resonance. It tells you that connection is not only emotional but physical, woven into the rhythms of your very brain. You're tuned to others, and they to you. The metaphor of entanglement carries a deeper lesson too. Just as entangled particles reveal correlation without sending signals, so too can people remain joined even across silence and distance. Memory, care, love. These bonds endure beyond words. They are not broken by time or miles. They remain humming quietly, waiting to be felt. You breathe with this awareness. Perhaps you think the truest form of communication is not speaking but belonging, not transmitting messages but sharing presence. Entanglement, whether of particles or of minds, is not about moving something from one place to another. It is about recognizing what is already shared. The thought soothes you into deeper calm. You're part of this web, your mind entangled with others. You're not alone. Even now, in silence, the threads hold, and yet as you drift further inward, a new question arises. If minds can feel entangled, then what of choices? Could entanglement touch the realm of free will, shaping how decisions unfold? Could the bonds that link us also guide the paths we take? The question glimmers softly, waiting like a lantern at the edge of night. The thought of entangled minds still hums softly within you, like threads stretched across silence, holding connection even without words. And from that web of presence a deeper question emerges, quiet but insistent. How do choices fit into this fabric? You breathe slowly, letting the question settle. Choices feel so personal, so immediate. You decide what to say, where to walk, how to act. Each decision feels like a spark born in the private space of your mind. But when you look closer, you sense something larger. Choices as ripples, spreading across a web you do not see. Imagine standing beside a still pond at dusk. You drop a pebble, and the ripples expand outward in circles. Another pebble falls elsewhere, and its ripples meet yours. Together they form patterns, interference, harmony. Each choice in your life is like that. What you decide touches others, just as their decisions ripple back to you. Free will is not solitary. It is relational, woven into the water you share. The quantum world offers a metaphor here. A particle does not travel along a single path until it is measured. Instead, it explores all possibilities, a wave of maybes shimmering outward. In the moment of observation, one path becomes real, the others dissolving. Your choices feel similar. Before you act, many possibilities live within you. Turn left, turn right, speak, stay silent. The moment you choose, one becomes true and the rest fade into memory. You rest in this image. Free will does not vanish in the face of probability. Instead, it becomes a dance, a rhythm between openness and decision. You're both the wave of maybes and the moment of collapse. Both are you. Some philosophers worry that entanglement threatens free will. If particles are bound across space, if correlations are written into the universe itself, then are our choices truly our own? Or are they ripples already shaped by unseen ties? You let the question soften instead of sharpen. Perhaps free will is not absolute independence, but harmony with connection. You're not a pebble dropped into an empty pond, but one ripple among countless others. Your freedom is not erased by this, it is enriched. You choose, and your choice joins the pattern. Think of music. Each instrument plays its own line, yet the melody is shaped by the whole. Your choices are like that. They matter, they're your notes, but they also resonate with others. The web is not a cage, it is a symphony. You breathe into this thought, feeling its calm. Freedom is not about isolation, it is about belonging within the web, creating patterns that carry meaning through resonance. You recall moments when your choices felt guided by something larger, an intuition, a pull, a quiet voice that was not quite yours. Perhaps it was memory, perhaps empathy, perhaps the threads of entanglement whispering from the edges. Whatever the source, it felt less like command and more like flow, as though the decision arose naturally, like a ripple following the curve of the water. You let yourself rest in that flow now. Choices need not be battles. They can be gentle unfoldings, alignments with the larger rhythm. You do not always need to strain to decide. Sometimes the web itself carries you. In quantum mechanics, outcomes are never certain but weighted by probabilities. A particle is more likely to be here than there, though either is possible. Your life feels similar. Some choices are more likely given your past, your habits, your bonds. Yet within that likelihood, you remain free. Probability is not a prison. It is a guide, a map of maybes through which you move. This realization brings comfort. You do not need to control everything. You do not need to see every path. You can trust probability to carry you, to shape possibilities into the choices that matter most. You imagine now standing again at the pond, ripples spreading. Some are yours, some belong to others, some come from stones thrown long before you arrived. The water is full of patterns, yet your pebble still matters. Your choice still sends ripples outward. The web is vast, but it listens to you. You rest in this balance, part of the whole, yet still yourself. Your choices are not erased by the web, they are amplified within it. The comfort deepens as you think of those who came before you. Their choices ripple still, shaping your life in ways you may never fully see. And your own choices will ripple outward, touching lives you may never know. You're part of a chain, not bound but belonging, not controlled but connected. You breathe into this awareness. Free will becomes less about control and more about participation, less about mastery and more about harmony. You're a note in the music, a ripple in the pond, a photon in the field, and in that role you are free. Your body softens further. The question of choice no longer feels heavy. It feels light, like a current carrying you. Decisions will come, and you will meet them, not with strain but with trust. And yet, as you drift deeper into calm, another question arises at the edge of thought. If choices ripple outward into others, then perhaps they ripple into the future too. What patterns are you creating, not just for now, but for those who come after? How far can the web carry the resonance of your life? The question glimmers quietly, like a stone sinking beneath the water, sending ripples you cannot yet see. The lantern of knowledge still glows in your mind, its circle of light steady but surrounded by vast darkness. You accepted the gentle limit of its reach, finding peace in what cannot be known. And now, in that calm, you notice something else. The way the future seems to whisper into the present, leaving echoes before it arrives. You breathe slowly, letting the thought take form. The future is unknown, yes, but it is not absent. Like waves moving from a distant shore, it sends ripples ahead, touching your life in subtle ways even before you step into it. Imagine standing by the sea. The horizon stretches far, and beyond it lies a land you cannot yet see. But the waves reach you, their rhythm carrying hints of what is coming. The scent of salt, the pull of the tide, the sound of gulls, they're all echoes of a place not yet before your eyes. So it is with time. Tomorrow sends its ripples backward, shaping today in ways you may not notice until later. Science too whispers of these echoes. In the quantum world, experiments reveal that the choice of how to measure a particle can affect what seems to have already happened. The present leans into the past, and the future leans into now. Cause and effect blur, bending around one another like dancers in a slow embrace. It is not that the future is fixed, but that the fabric of time is softer, more entangled than your ordinary senses reveal. You rest in this paradox. The unknown future is not far away. It is woven into your present, already humming in the rhythm of your breath. Think of choices you once made without knowing their weight. A word spoken casually, a meeting that seemed ordinary, a decision taken quietly. Only later did you realize they were turning points, doors opening onto paths you had not imagined. The future was echoing then, shaping your steps before you understood. You pause and let this memory settle. It is comforting to think that even now, such echoes surround you. Tomorrow is already brushing against today, just as yesterday still lingers in your bones. You're not cut off from what is to come. You're already entangled with it. This thought eases your worry about uncertainty. The future is not an empty void. It is a field of possibilities shimmering just beyond sight. Some paths are brighter, some fainter, but all hum with presence. You need not know which one will unfold to feel comfort in their existence. The garden of maybes is alive, waiting gently for you to step within it. You imagine yourself standing at a crossroads in a quiet wood. The paths stretch outward, some winding, some straight, some vanishing into shadow. You cannot see where they end, but you sense their shapes. The echo of footsteps is already in the air, as though your future self has walked them before you. You breathe into this, trusting that whichever trail you choose, the web will hold you. The quantum world gives you another metaphor. A particle explores many paths at once, waves of probability spreading outward. When observed, one path becomes real, but the others are not wasted. They shaped the probability, guided the outcome. So too with your life. Futures you never live still echo, shaping who you are, reminding you that possibility is part of your story even when unrealized. This realization comforts you. You need not regret paths you did not take. They are not lost. They are echoes, part of the harmony that brought you here. Your breath grows slower, your body heavier. The echoes of the future feel less like pressure and more like music, faint notes drifting ahead. You do not need to force the melody. It will arrive when the time is right. For now, you simply rest in its promise. You think of generations yet to come, their lives shaped by choices made long before they are born. They too are echoes of the future moving backward into the present, urging care, urging tenderness. The web of time does not end with you. It stretches outward, carrying your ripples forward, carrying theirs back. You are part of this continuity, one note in a song larger than your life. You rest in this truth. The future is not a stranger waiting on the horizon. It is a companion already present, whispering softly through intuition, through possibility, through the quiet tug of what feels meant to be. The forest fades in your imagination, the crossroads dissolving into mist. All that remains is the hum of time itself, past and future meeting in the breath of now. You exhale, and with it the ripples move outward. You inhale, and the echoes return. And as you rest in this rhythm, another image begins to stir. If echoes move across time, if the future and past can touch, then perhaps the universe itself carries memory in a way deeper than you can imagine. Perhaps information, once created, is never truly lost, but woven into the fabric of existence, waiting to be heard. The thought glows softly, like a memory that is not yours but belongs to the cosmos itself. The echoes of the future still shimmer in your mind, soft ripples stretching backward into the present. You rest in their rhythm, the hum of possibility brushing gently against you. And as you listen, another thought rises, the possibility that the universe itself remembers. You breathe slowly, letting the idea expand. Perhaps nothing is ever truly lost. Not a word, not a breath, not a particle's journey through space. Everything leaves a trace, woven into the fabric of reality. The universe holds memory, not like a diary written in ink, but like an ocean that never forgets the waves that pass across its surface. You imagine standing on the shore of such an ocean. The waves lap gently at your feet, one after another. Each ripple seems to vanish, dissolving back into the water. But the sea remembers. Each wave carries the imprint of winds, of distant storms, of the pull of the moon. Even when the surface looks calm, its depths hold the memory of motion. So too with the universe. Every particle that has ever moved, every photon that has ever travelled leaves a pattern in the fields beneath everything. Scientists believe that information, once created, cannot be destroyed. It may change form, it may scatter, it may hide, but it persists. The cosmos in this way is a vast memory. You let this thought cradle you. It means that your life too is not forgotten. Each word you have spoken, each kindness you have given, each breath you have drawn, these are ripples carried onward. You may not see where they go, but the universe does not lose them. This idea appears in the paradox of black holes as well. When matter falls past the horizon, is the information erased? Quantum theory insists no. Even if the form dissolves, the information must remain, encoded somehow in the radiation, in the surface, in the fabric itself. The universe remembers, even at its darkest edge. You find comfort in this insistence. Memory is not fragile, it is law. Existence cannot be undone. It can only transform. You think of your own memories now. Some are sharp, bright as stars. Others are faint, half forgotten, like dust drifting in the dark. But whether you recall them or not, they shaped you. They ripple through your choices, your gestures, your presence. You are the sum of countless echoes, carried forward even when they slip from your conscious mind. The universe, too, is shaped by its memories. Galaxies formed because of tiny fluctuations in the early cosmos. Differences so small yet preserved, amplified, carried forward into vast structures. Without memory, there would be no stars, no planets, no life. You imagine the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang still shining across the sky. It is a memory written in light, the oldest photograph of the universe, carrying the imprint of its birth. When you look at it, you're gazing not only into space, but into time, into memory preserved for billions of years. This vision calms you. It tells you that memory is not only fragile and human, it is cosmic, etched into light itself. The stars overhead are memories too. Their light began its journey long ago, yet still arrives, carrying stories of ages past. Every night sky is an archive, every photon a page. You rest in this awareness. You're surrounded by memory, not just your own but the universe's. You breathe, and even your breath carries echoes. The oxygen in your lungs, once part of ancient forests, once part of distant stars. The carbon in your body, once burned in stellar furnaces, once drifted through space. You're made of memory, every atom a story preserved. The thought brings you peace. It means you belong to something enduring. You're not a fleeting accident. You're the continuation of ripples that began long before you, ripples that will continue long after. You picture yourself floating again on the ocean of fields, the same one you visited before. Beneath you, ripples stretch outward, intersecting, overlapping. Each one is a trace of something that has happened, something that has existed. Together they form the memory of the universe, endless and alive. You realize that forgetting as you know it may be only an illusion. What is forgotten by you is remembered by the whole. The memory of the universe is not selective. It is total, infinite, patient. It holds what you release. Your body softens at this thought. You need not cling so tightly to each moment, each detail. You can let them drift, trusting that nothing is truly lost. The universe remembers for you. The metaphor reaches into your life gently. Even relationships that fade, even voices that fall silent, remain part of the web. They shaped you, they ripple still, their memory is alive. whether or not you hold it consciously. You're never truly apart from what has touched you. You rest in this comfort, breathing slowly. The memory of the universe is a cradle, holding everything that has ever been. Within it, you're safe. Within it, you're known. And as you drift deeper into this thought, another question begins to glow. If the universe remembers everything, if information is never lost, then perhaps even endings are not final. Perhaps death itself is not erasure, but transformation, memory carried into new forms. The question hums softly, not with urgency but with calm, like a lullaby inviting you onward. The thought of the universe as memory still glows around you, soft and steady. Nothing is ever truly lost, you realized. Each ripple carried, each spark remembered. And now you drift gently toward the close of your journey, though not an ending. For what the cosmos teaches most of all is that nothing ever ends. Everything folds into the next, one chapter flowing into another, a lullaby without final note. You breathe deeply, recalling where you began, threads of light and shadow, entangled particles whispering across space. At first the mystery felt distant, a puzzle of physics, but with each chapter it grew closer, weaving into leaves, into your body, into your mind. You saw photons dance, black holes sing, time soften, futures echo. Each step revealed not separation but unity, not silence but song. You pause to feel gratitude for this journey. It has not demanded that you solve every paradox or hold every answer. Instead, it has invited you to rest in wonder, to breathe with mystery, to find comfort in the unknown. Science at its deepest is not only about facts but about awe. It shines its light into darkness, not to erase it, but to show that the shadows too are part of the whole. You imagine now lying beneath a sky full of stars. The web of galaxies stretches above, threads glimmering in silence. Some stars are near, some impossibly far. Some have already died, yet their light still reaches you, carrying their memory across time. It feels as though the sky itself is singing, each star a note, together forming the endless lullaby of the cosmos. You listen. The lullaby is not loud, it is soft, like the hush of waves against a shore, like the rhythm of your own breath. Its melody is woven from paradox, certainty and uncertainty, distance and closeness, wave and particle, presence and absence. Its rhythm is steady, patient, eternal. You breathe with that rhythm, your body growing heavier, your thoughts lighter. The mysteries you carried, about entanglement, about time, about knowledge, no longer feel like burdens. They feel like gifts. Each question is a note in the song, each paradox a harmony. The lullaby does not demand resolution, it only invites you to listen. You remember the metaphor of the lantern in the night. Your knowledge is the glow, the circle of light around you. Beyond it lies shadow, but you do not need to fear it. The darkness is not empty. It is alive with possibility, with futures echoing back, with memories preserved. It is part of the music. The lullaby deepens. You hear its echoes in your own body. Your heart beats steadily, each pulse a drum. Your breath moves like a tide, waves rising and falling. Even your cells hum with quantum rhythms, electrons tunneling, molecules folding. You're not only listening to the lullaby, you're part of its choir. You let this realization soothe you. You're not outside the universe, observing it from afar. You're inside it, woven into its fabric, a verse in its song. The same entanglement that joins particles across galaxies joins you to the whole. You're not separate, not alone. You're a note in the lullaby, essential in your smallness, infinite in your belonging. You imagine now drifting further into rest. The stars blur, the galaxies soften into mist. The song continues, but its words are no longer needed. Only the melody remains, carrying you deeper into calm. Even as your thoughts slow, one last comfort remains. The lullaby is endless. When you wake, it will still be there, humming through leaves, through rivers, through the rhythm of your days. When you breathe, it will sing. When you wonder, it will answer not with certainty, but with music. And when you close your eyes fully, surrendering to sleep, the lullaby will cradle you. Its arms are wide as the cosmos, gentle as a whisper, steady as time. You exhale, and the song continues. You inhale, and you are part of it. The endless lullaby carries you now, softly, quietly, without end.